Hello Anglophonians and welcome to a new episode where we take a look at European comics. Now, today we go back into ancient France, into Gaul, and see another adventure of Asterix. And this is very special. Number one, there is one cast of characters who will be in almost every following adventure as a running gag. And this adventure especially focuses not so much on Asterix. Well, of course it does because he's the title hero, but there's one other village inhabitant who is the main focus of the story, and it's Cacofonix the Bard. So let's take a look. There is great excitement in the Roman camp compendium. The prefect Odious Asparagus honors the soldiers with his visit. At the same time, he would like to obtain a gift for Julius Caesar that he intends to present to the emperor upon his return to Rome. He also has a very unusual idea of what it is. One of the invincible Gauls from the village that continues to resist the empire. The centurion Gracchus Amiocerpus is not enthusiastic about this idea, but eventually has something on his mind. For among the Gauls there is one who is not as warlike as the others, Cacofonix the Bard. Maybe one can catch him when he's out in the woods to compose new songs. A Roman patrol goes in search of Cacofonix, but his singing initially prevents them from catching him. Eventually, they decide to stuff parsley in their ears, so they don't hear him. This is how they succeed in capturing the Bard. However, they were observed by a child from the village, who was chasing piglets. Although vital statistics, the chief has to admit that it was a funny idea for the Romans to capture Cacofonix of all people. The Bard is one of the Gauls and must be freed. So the Gauls drink their magic potion and attack the Roman camp compendium. But they are too late. The prefect Asparagus is already on his way to Rome. So Asterix and Obelix decide to travel to Rome as well and free Cacofonix there. They decide to hitchhike and stand on the beach waiting for a ship. The merchant economic crisis comes along with his Phoenician galley and picks the two of them up. However, pirates appear on the way, which Asterix and Obelix quickly deal with. Economic Crisis is delighted and admits that he originally intended to sell the Gauls as slaves in Rome, but now that they have rescued his ship and cargo, he has given up those plans. Meanwhile, Cacofonix is presented to Caesar in Rome. He orders the Bard to be thrown to the wild animals at the next games in the arena. Since Rome is not on the coast, Asterix and Obelix still have a long way to go on foot before they finally reach the capital of the Roman Empire. When they get there, they learn of Caesar's plans and find that Cacofonix has already been moved to the arena's basement. Only lions and gladiators get there. So Asterix and Obelix decide that they will become gladiators to be in the arena on the day of the games. They meet with Caius Fatus, the gladiator trainer. He is thrilled to have such talented fighters in his ranks, but Asterix and Obelix mess up the gladiator school. Well, as it will come common in Asterix stories, we have a lot to unpack here. First of all, this Roman here is a caricature, of course. It's a caricature of the French journalist Georges Fronval. The Roman prefect's name in the original French is "alla va comme je te pousse", derived from the phrase "alla va comme je te pousse". Translated, the sentence means "do something in a hurry". The Asterix inventor René Goscinny and Albert Uderzo often worked with Fronval on Pilote and thus immortalized him in their work. However, Froval became known for his books about Native Americans, which he often visited and with whom he maintained good contacts. He died in 1975. And then there are the pirates. The pirates we see in Asterix are a direct parody of Barbe Rouge, translated Redbeard, a comic series that also was published in Pilote. The real hero of the series, which takes place in the Caribbean, is Rick, whose parents were killed in an attack by Redbeard. The corsair adopts the orphan and raises him. Rick later finds out that he comes from an influential French noble family. As a capable seafarer, he fights against the English and Spanish and was even hired by the French king. Redbeard provides him with the old tripod, he's called tripod because he has a peg leg, as a sly advisor, and Bubba, a former slave, as a strong protector. The question arises, to what extent is this historically correct? The answer is very correct. In ancient time, all seafaring people practiced piracy. Coastal piracy predominated, in which coastal towns were raided with rowing boats, and uncovered galleys and ships sailing or resting near the coast were attacked on favorable occasions. Only with the development of the trireme in the 6th century BC it became technically possible to pursue other ships and to practice piracy effectively at sea. Overall, the development of piracy followed the technical possibility of the respective age. In the weak phase of the Roman Republic, in the last century BC, the threat to Egyptian grain shipments from Sicilian pirates became an almost existential threat even for Rome. Rome left the fight against pirates to the Greek allies for a long time. Only the decisive campaign under Gnaeus Pompeius in 67 BC somewhat restored the security of the sea routes in the Mediterranean. The term pirate even comes from Greek pirates, attacker, and in Latin pirata means buccaneer. In any case, these special pirates will become a running gag at Asterix in the future. And we haven't seen the last of the Phoenician trader either. A large part of the adventure takes place in Rome, the capital of the Roman Empire. The two authors spent a lot of time researching the way of life in this city on the Tiber in 50 BC. Historically correct, it is shown that people at that time already lived in multi-story houses, the so-called insulae. It also gives Goscinny and Uderzo a chance to satirize life in a tenement, with neighbors constantly curious about who might be visiting and complaining about the noise other neighbors are said to be making. And then of course there is the main part. Asterix and Obelix want to become gladiators in order to be able to take part in the games where Cacofonix is supposed to be thrown to the wild animals. Let's take a look at the location first. Throughout the book, only the circus or the arena is mentioned, but never the Colosseum. This has to do with the fact that the arena we see in the story cannot be the Colosseum, because this was only built between 72 and 80 AD under Emperor Vespasian. The arena we see in the story could be the amphitheater of Statilius Taurus, built in 29 BC. But what about the gladiators? The name gladiator comes from the Latin gladius for short sword. It was a professional fighter in ancient Rome who fought against other gladiators in public displays. The fight of gladiators against each other is called gladiatur, gladiatorship. Gladiator fights were part of Roman life from 264 BC to early 5th century AD. Originally, gladiator fights took place at the funerals of famous people to honor them. Later, Roman rulers found that these spectacles were suitable for securing the reputation of the Roman population. With that, gladiator games became bigger and more magnificent. In the beginning, the audience had to stand, then wooden grandstands were built, and finally arenas and theaters, where games were held to entertain the population. Finally, so-called animal hunts were included in the program. The organizers were still wealthy private individuals who welcomed any opportunity to gain the respect of the Roman people in this way. And the more extraordinary the event was, the more the wealthy rose in the favor of the people. It is said that Gaius Julius Caesar had his gladiators equipped with armor made of silver in order to impress the Roman population. Suetonius, a Roman biographer, reported on the proportions that such an attempt at bribery of the Roman population could assume. Caesar put on spectacles of all kinds. A gladiator game, theatrical performances in every quarter of the city, and this by actors of all languages, also circus performances, athletes' fights and naval battle. In the gladiator game in the Forum, Furius Leptinus fought, who came from a family of praetorian rank, and the former senator and jurist Quintus Calpenus. The animal hunts lasted 5 days. At the end, there was a battle in which 2 departments of 500 foot soldiers, 20 elephants and 300 horses faced each other. That gladiators during the imperial period began battles with the salute Ave Caesar morituri te salutant. Hail Emperor the doomed, literally those who are about to die salute you, is a common legend that does not reflect the facts. This salute has only been handed down for a single event in the year 52, in a fight in which prisoners, not gladiators, had to fight. Of course, since prisoners were not trained in gladiatorial combat, they had to assume they would die in battle, and probably wanted to arouse the pity of the Emperor Claudius at the time, with the salute. There's hardly any reliable information on how good the chances for a gladiator were of leaving the arena alive. The problem with this is that gladiators who died young were buried anonymously. Something is only known about gladiators who survived many fights and became famous. Another myth here is that a gladiator who was defeated was always killed. The cliché shows the thumbs down of the audience demanding the loser's death. This happened, of course, but the audience often followed the sign that the emperor was giving. When the thumb was down, the audience loudly shouted "Jugula!" stab him, and the loser's fate was sealed. But if the loser had put on a good fight, there was no need to kill him, because there was no way he could fight anymore and put on a good show. Since the gladiators were entitled to a part of the income from the games, successful fighters could buy their way out if they had saved enough money. They in turn became instructors in gladiator schools in the military, or they were hired as bodyguards by wealthy Romans. Being able to afford a gladiator as a guard was prestigious. And finally, we have to talk about this gentleman here, who is allowed to sit next to Julius Caesar on the balcony of the arena. Brutus, more precisely Decimus Junius Brutus Albinus. Brutus was something of Caesar's foster son, rose through the ranks very quickly, and was probably protéged by Caesar. In the year 50 BC, when the Asterix stories began, Brutus was probably quaestor, which was the lowest office in the civil service and was the entry point, so to speak. He supported Caesar in the Roman Civil War and became an important confidant, even appearing in the line of succession to the emperor should Caesar's heirs be unable or unwilling to inherit the throne. Nevertheless, in 44 BC he joined a conspiracy to assassinate Caesar. Caesar was about to be assassinated at a Senate session. But since he had previously received bad omens, he did not want to go. It was Brutus who persuaded him not to take heed of the bad omens. Had he not done so, the conspirators would not have had an opportunity to assassinate him. So he played an important role in Caesar's death, But today it is no longer possible to understand what his motivations were. After all, he was well off under Caesar and his future was secured, all of which was at stake with Caesar's assassination. In Asterix, Brutus also has his first appearance here. He will come back more often. There will always be references to the role he will play in the assassination of Caesar. In this story, Brutus does not applaud at first, only when Caesar prompts him with the words "tu quoque," you too. The sentence is the illusion, because it is said that Caesar, when he was dying and saw that Brutus was among the conspirators, said "tu quoque, fili Brute," you too, Brutus, my son. Not everything depicted in the Asterix comics is 100% accurate, but for a story about a band of ghouls who fight against the occupiers with the help of a magic potion, there's a lot to learn here. So there you have it. This was Asterix the Gladiator. Yeah, and as I said, well, the pirates will return in almost every adventure from now on. They become a running gag. Well, but we don't have the cast of characters all together that makes a good Asterix story. So we will see more next time and see you then.